Hey guys, this is AI Gaming 1776 and we are checking out Batman Arkham Knight. The game is almost maxed out at 1080p. We are using a 980 Ti. It says so right there. You can see there's 6 gigs of VRAM available. We have MSI Afterburner going in the upper right hand corner. We're going to use about 3.5 to 4 gigs of VRAM for most of the time. The game still has, as of right now, a 90 frames per second limit on it. And like I said, it's pretty close to maxed out. So let's go through this real quick. All maxed out with the exception of no motion blur, no interactive smoke and fog, no interactive paper debris. But everything else is as high as it can go. So I'll just cut to the chase. You saw that it had a 90 frame per second cap. Now I am using a 144 frames per second monitor. And I'm not going to get to see 54 of those frames per second, no matter what I do, because there's that 90 frame per second cap. Now, I could possibly manually override that in the INI files, and I did that before they actually did this update on the game when it had a 30 frame per second cap, but I didn't want to monkey with it. I wanted to test the game as it is. So, as you can see, we're not even at our 90 frames per second right now. We're at 80. Well, it just went to 90. Now we're in the 70s, 76. Now it's at 81. It's going to fluctuate. The thing is, though, I'm being chill right now. I'm moving very slowly, okay? But once I start getting really into it, and there we go. We're in the 60s. We're in the 50s. We're in the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. And remember, this is only 1080p, all right? 1080p using a 980 Ti. And this frame rate is just all over the place. So let's call in the Batmobile. The Batmobile does not do well. I'm going to tell you that right now. So for what it's worth, when I use my GTX 970, these same settings get the game down into the 30s. Now as you can see, we're around 60 frames per second right now. Now we're in the 70s. Go around here, we dipped into the 50s, went into the 60s. It's going to go all over the place basically. And this is probably my 8th attempt at this video. There we go, in the 50s, it went to 55. But one of the tries I did earlier, it was in the 50s almost the entire time I was in the Batmobile. Probably because, now it's in the 50s a lot right now. I was going to say probably because of whatever section of the city I was in, that was probably affecting what the frame rate was going to be. So no, the game does not perform very well. Now I guess I could change some settings real quick, but the thing is, it's a 980 Ti in 1080p. Would you want to change the settings? I mean, now I should also point out that one of the issues with this game is you only have 3 options at most for a lot of these things. Texture resolution is high, normal, and low. Same with shadow, high, normal, low. I'll put shadow on normal. But that's all I really would turn down, to be honest with you. I wouldn't really want to turn anything else down. I don't want to get rid of the enhanced rain. I don't want to get rid of the light shafts. Trilinear texture filtering actually doesn't look too bad with the GTX 970, so I'll see how it looks with this. But I don't really want to give up the high texture, especially when there's only 3 options for textures. I don't want the I was going to say the medium one and middle at the same time, but I don't want the middle one. I don't want the medium one. Actually, trilinear not looking so good when I look at the environment, like these steel beams. Trilinear is not bad when looking at Batman. Now, no matter what settings you put this game on, Batman always looks fairly decent. Obviously, the higher the settings go, the better he's going to look. But even when you turn things down pretty low, Batman looks pretty good. It's kind of like Tomb Raider 2013 in that regard. All right, where is my car? Oh, there it is. All right, let's get back in the Batmobile and see if we made the frame rate get any better. It was in the 60s, 70s, now we're in the 80s, 70s, 70s, 60s, 70s, 90, 60s. It's not consistent, I can tell you that. 45, just went down to 45. So it's kind of a bummer, but it is September 24th, and from what I understand, the game might not even be re-released yet. I know it's had this big update. It might even have had a couple of, oh, it's in the 50s. It might even have had a couple of updates. So I'm not sure if the game's been re-released yet, and if it hasn't, then maybe, oh yeah, I need to get out of here. Then maybe it'll play a lot better once it's officially re-released. See, it was in the 50s for the frame rate even when I was flying just now. Now, I will tell you this, if you just stand here, just stand perfectly still, not bad. It was at 90 frames per second while I was talking, and then it went down to 84. It's back at 90 again. It's not bad. You got the water on the ground, just like with the PlayStation 4. Obviously, 90 frames per second is going to look better than the PS4. And I would certainly hope so, given what the 980 Ti costs money-wise. I would certainly hope this looks better than the PS4. And it does look better than the PS4. So I guess you could say this is the best looking version of the game as of right now. But it still plays pretty badly. Now, the GTX 970 is not a terrible card. I know a lot of people say it is, but I have a 970. And it does really well. And it can actually, up here on this rooftop, it would be at 90 frames per second with these same settings right now. The difference is with the 970, the difference is there would be a dip to the 30s for the frame rate in the Batmobile, as opposed to a dip to the 50s. So this is that diner from the start of the game, in case you didn't know. You can actually go in this diner and check it out. The thing I don't like is all of the clues are gone. The newspaper articles and the menu and stuff, everything's gone. It's not available in the main game proper. So I would like it if those clues would be there. But no, I mean, it looks good. This is the best looking version of the game. It just does not play that well yet. And again, oh, by the way, my processor is a 4790 i7. I'm using 16 gigs of system RAM. So it's not like I have 8 gigs of system RAM and I'm almost maxed out right now. I mean, I have 16 gigs of system RAM. Is this a monster computer? No. But the game's being played in 1080p. I think that's kind of where I'm at on this. It's still not satisfactory performance at 1080p with such an expensive graphics card. And with the 970, no, it was, I mean, it went into the 30s in the Batmobile. And with the 960, because I do have a 960 also, with the 960, it was not good at all. I mean, it had trouble keeping 60 frames per second a lot of the time. And yes, again, you can turn the settings down, but do you really want to? I don't. I mean, by the time you pay this much money for graphics cards, even a 960, a 4 gigabyte 960 is what you would need to use these settings. So you're talking at least a $220 graphics card. See, that looks good. I'm looking in the viewfinder. I get it. That it doesn't look bad. Just the frame rate's still all over the place. But yeah, I mean, by the time you get a $220 to $260 GTX 960, and it's struggling to keep 60 frames per second, that's disappointing. And then when you're using a 980 Ti, and it was going down to 45 frames per second in the Batmobile, and think about how much of the game involves the Batmobile. That's kind of disappointing. So that is where we're at right now. And yeah, I mean, this looks good. This looks good. It's in the 70s when I was walking. I was walking and it went into the 70s. I'm not even running or fighting or anything. So that's like a 14, 15 frame per second dip just walking. Yep, 75. That's a 15 frame per second dip just walking. So that's where we're at. Hopefully it gets better. Hopefully that when the game is properly re-released, it's going to be a lot better. So thanks for watching, guys. This has been AI Gaming 1776, and you guys have yourselves a fantastic night.